Oh, okay. Here we go. This is the big stuff. So from this perspective, I want to, and we talked about successful and unsuccessful, right? Rich real estate investors and broke ones. There's a distinction between those two and what they focus on as it relates to running the real estate investing business, buying apartment buildings, running those things as a business, and having an overall business that runs them. Cool? So there's 4 parts that make the difference between somebody who's going to be rich in the business and those who are going to be broke and not have anything. And I don't want that for you. So say that. There's a difference between those who are going to be rich and those who are going to be broke. Which one would you like to be? The rich side or the broke side? Raise your hands. For the rich? Raise your hands for the broke? Like, no. So never. I'm trying to come up with a program called Never Broke Again. I'll let you guys know about it. And man, I just don't want to be broke again. It's like the biggest, too much pain. It is too much pain. So anyways, the real estate business. So the 4 parts that make the difference between somebody who's going to be successful, make a lot of money in their business, or the people who are not going to. And usually what will happen is the broke ones only focus on one part. They'll focus on gross income. And this is really a business thing, but every time you buy an apartment building, it's like buying a small business because there's people who pay, there's income, there's expenses, there's cash flow, there's revenues that come in. You have to raise the value of your business as a building, right? Whatever it is you do with it. So I want you to see each of your properties as an individual business, and then you have a business over the top of those to be able to run those things, right? So your overall business has money that needs to be come in and managed, and then your each individual business that your business owns as it relates to apartment buildings has their own. We're talking about the global, the big one. Cool? So you will be focusing on overall your gross income, your expenses. Write these down. There's 4. Gross income, 1. 2, expenses. 3, your net profits. 4. I got that twice. Shouldn't be. What was that? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's weird. All right. What was the other one? Oh, never mind. It was passive. Or your cash flow. Boom. I knew there was one. It's weird, right? That's how you know it's like a real thing. So, like I said, not super smart, simple, but I make shit work. All right. So most broke real estate investors tend to focus on their gross. They brag about it. They do this. We made this. We brought this in and all this other stuff. But if you're going to be successful, you're going to create wealth in this business, you're going to need to focus on all 4, right? So yes, gross income. What is gross income? That's how much money that comes in overall. Boom. Big old global number. Big number, right? $1 million a year. Cool. So when you look at it from that perspective, $1 million a year, that's why I said some real estate investors are broke, because there's a lot of developers that I know that go, I got a $10 million project. We got a $20 million project that's going to close. We're going to make like $3 million. And I'm like, cool, man. When? And they're like, yeah, because they're looking at these big gross numbers and it makes them feel good, but they're barely scratching by, like eating tuna and crackers and shit like that, hoping those projects don't go to hell in a handbasket or the market doesn't shift on them in 3 to 5 years. Dude, that's a long freaking time. I love that game. Sounds pretty. It's sexy to talk about at parties and talk to all these different people. But man, I got a family. You got a family. I got kids. My kids can't wait 4 or 5 years to eat. We have to eat now. So when I take a look at this from this perspective, we're like gross income as a rich and successful business owner, right? Owning a business that is driven by our investments, right? Apartment buildings, preferably. Then we take a look at our expenses. What are our expenses, right? This is something else that if you're going to be rich and successful in this business, you got to pay attention to what your expenses are. Like what's going out every month? Like what is required to keep the doors open, and what's required in your properties to make sure that they run above board, not at bare minimum. Cool? Then you have your net profits. Like what did you net? What did you walk away with? After all your bills are paid and all this other stuff, like what is your net profits? And then we have our passive income and cash flow. Like what's coming in? What do we know that's going to come in? What's our projected incomes coming in every month? Worst case scenario, we need to stay on point. Cool? So the big picture here, like we said, we focus on this, we focus on these, right? So the goal here is to do this. I'm going to erase my little asterisks and stars and stuff because I think you get it. But I want you to write this down, right? So say this with me. We're going to focus on 4 pieces as it relates to our real estate business income. Real estate business as it relates to creating like finances. We're going to focus on gross income. Say gross income. Next. Which was the next we're going to focus on? Expenses. Say expenses. Next one we're going to focus on net profits. Say net profits. Why am I getting you to say this? Because you remember more of what you learn. It's called participation, man. So next, passive income or our cash flow. All of these we have to keep our eye on these. And this is what we're looking to do as creating wealth in the business, wealth in our real estate investing business as apartment building owners. Cool. We want to continue to have our gross incomes constantly going up, our net profits also going up, our passive incomes also going up, and we want to drive our expenses down. You know, I learned this a while back, and I don't know if it's true from this perspective, but I'm going to share it with you because, like we said, it's generic enough for us to really look at it, right? And if we said, if 20% gets us 80% of our results, that means that 80% of our expenses are responsible for 20% of the income. So that means that probably 80% of our expenses can actually be lopped off, and it would actually raise our income up, right? And I know that to be true. Like, there was a time when, so I bought a building one time, and so we bought the building at a discount because, lo and behold, the way that I teach to do stuff, we buy stuff at a discount because the value ain't there, because we're buying it based on this current performance, this current income, because we're bottom feeders. I'll teach you about that later. Cool. So what I did was we bought it at a certain price, but the seller had bought it at a different price. So their taxes were way up. So what I did was when we closed, I called and disputed the taxes. I wanted my expenses to go down. So we got those expenses dropped from like $8,000 a year to $2,000 a year. We saved $6,000, right? And it's not the math of 20%, 80%. But with that $6,000 now, we didn't have to pay that out. It stayed in our income. That made our value go up. And I'll go through all this other stuff. And if you're an apartment player, you already understand cap rates and blah, blah, blah. If it didn't cost us anything to generate more income, that income just came off of nowhere from me making a phone call and bitching about something. All of a sudden, my expenses went down. My gross income went up, right? My net profits went up. My cash flow went up because it didn't have to go out anymore. That's how we play the game. That's how you create wealth in this business as a business owner. Not just, oh, I have an investment opportunity and I did this and I'm playing the game and I just bought a property and I'm going to sit and let it ride the wave of the emerging market. So what? We force appreciation. We're building value. This is what we talk about. So the 4 areas. There's how many parts? 4. How many parts? 4 that we focus on to create wealth and be successful, to be real estate millionaires, not real estate broken heirs, right? There's the rich ones and then there's the broke ones. The rich ones tend to look at their gross income and brag about what they got, but they're broke the whole time. What I'm telling you is to create ultimate wealth in your business by focusing on driving your gross income up all the time, be ruthless at cutting your expenses. I'm always looking for ways to cut expenses in my buildings and also in my businesses. Like, what can we get rid of that we don't need? There's probably, I hate to say this, a lot of times you have brought on people that don't serve a purpose and it feels good, or maybe you hired a family member or some shit like that and you're paying them because you feel bad, but they're an expense. If they aren't making you money, they're costing you money. That is the equation. Even yourself, if you are costing yourself money and you aren't making any money, get rid of you in that part and get somebody else that can. Drive your expenses down. I can't stress this enough. Next, focus on your net profits. Yeah, focus on your net profits. Like after it's all said and done, you need to always be looking at your net profits. Next, passive income, cash flow. Like, how much money is going to be coming in? How much money is going to be coming in passively? Okay, as a caveat, I just want to stop. This is like a pet peeve. You ain't gonna buy a ton of property and then float off and be on the beach drinking Mai Tais or Coronas or whatever the fuck you drink. It ain't gonna happen. That's not the real world. The real world is that it will still take a lot of your work, but you will have income that comes in based on your work that continues to pay you over and over again. That is still cash flow. There's no passive investment you're gonna get, where that's fancy marketing. That's to make broke people believe that there's a way for them to act rich, but they will still be broke when it's all said and done, because that dream does not freaking ever happen. I've never seen it happen for anybody that has any amount of success that I wanted to model. They ain't sitting on the beach, they're fucking working. I just want to be real about that. Again, a sore subject, because I have talked to people about that. They've argued with me about that. Passive income does not exist. You can even buy a note, and that's passive income, but you still need to be an aggressive person to make sure you put things in place. You can hire people to make you less active. So you're more passive, but you still got to do something as a response to the amount of money that you bring in. Your wealth and your riches and your success is still your responsibility. So get passive shit out of your head. Passive just means that you won't actively be out there working hard for that money. You know it's coming, but you still need to do some work. All right. So I'll step back off of my soapbox about my bitching and hemming and hawing about fancy marketers pushing passive investments on old people. But you do need to focus on how much money you have coming in that you can count on coming in based on your work. You get it? So those are those things. This is so important because all the difference between somebody who's going to be rich and successful as it relates to running an apartment building business, the $1 million secret to running a business like this is you have to focus on these 4 areas of where your money is and what your money is. Your gross revenue, your gross income that comes in every month, your expenses that go out, be able to manage those and be have a ruthless attitude about cutting them down. Don't give a shit. If you walk in your office and the lights are on and nobody's in there, dude, that's an expense. You got to pay for that. Let people know. All right. Next, what is your net profits? When it's all said and done, your gross and your net after you paid your mortgages and leases and all this other stuff and payrolls and paying yourself, your working income, what's left? That's your net profit. Like that goes into your business. That's your downline. And then next but not least, your passive income, your cash flows, what's coming in, constantly coming in so you can constantly run this business to grow your business, right? Because what do we say? A lot of our work is going to come from growing. Cool? So, I had to take a deep breath. Wait. Breathe with me. That was a lot. Because I get fired up over this part because I have failed so much. At some point when I had my ups and downs, I was just watching my gross, bragging about how much money I had coming in, not watching my expenses. My net profits went down. Passive income just was totally fucking goose egg. Just zero. Cool? Then I started focusing on gross income and then driving my expenses down. I started feeling bad and maybe we shouldn't cut this and maybe we shouldn't cut that. Dude, in any market, the reason why we buy properties from people, because we're bottom feeders, is because they failed to watch the things that we're willing to step in and make a conscious decision that we will watch. Because we're looking to do what? Strong basics. Be rich and create success and win this game. Everybody else played the game. We're playing the game to fucking win. We're looking to be the NFL Super Bowl champions of this game. And everybody else is just looking to be in the league. We don't care about that. We ain't trying to be cool. We're trying to be successful. There's a line in the sand between the distinction between rich real estate investors and broke ones. And I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom and letting you know what you need to be focusing on. This is general principles to all success in business. This matters more than you think it does, right? So, what do we get from this? Why is this important to you? You need to focus on 4 parts of your real estate investing business. Whether you're big, whether you're small, whether you're middle size, whether you have none right now, this is the foundation that you will lay everything on top of. You get this in line. This is your responsibility because like we said, you're going to work your ass off. You'd rather work your ass off anyways and get rich quickly as possible. This is how you do it. All right. So when I didn't do this, man, I failed. When I didn't keep my fingers on the pulse of my business, I watched my business fail, tank, and go away, and I had to start over again from scratch. Do not do that to your family. Do not do that to the families of the people who will work for you. Do not do that for the families of the people who will live in your business, live in your properties, which is your business. This is your responsibility as a leader to own your space and run and gun and create wealth and success for you and the people that work for you and the people that you give a shit about, because this is your legacy. And you can't do that if you're broke. All right? So stay tuned for the next training piece where we're going to get into. And this is super important because we go over exactly how to be able to really look at it from a rich and successful real estate investor and watch the things that you should be focusing on, because there's the rich ones that focus and there's the broke ones that don't focus, but they call it focus, but it's really not. And that is another strong basics of how you win in this game.